cold winter morning in Midtown Manhattan, New York, when a figure appeared right outside a hotel. He was wearing a brown jacket and he seemed to be approaching another man walking down the street, pulling a suppressed 9mm pistol from his pocket. Ivy League graduate Luigi Mangione shot and killed the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, leaving the words deny, defend, and depose engraved onto the bullets that he shot him with. Now, unless you've been living under a fucking rock for the last few weeks, you've probably heard of this story by now, and you're probably aware of the reaction to this murder on social media. While the mainstream media has been reacting to the murder like this,
he is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning. This killer was not a hero.
That was a terrible thing. It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually. That's really very bad.
Well, folks, there was a shocking assassination on Wednesday in New York City. We're going to get into all the details and the left's bizarre response to this particular assassination.
The actual American citizens have been reacting like this.
Health over wealth!
You tell us about your sign.
Yes. Government recognized terrorism. MLK, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Luigi Mangione.
He has lifted us out of the dust and the trivialness of politics and legislation.
And I believe that this is being done to send a message. Healthcare should not be for profit.
Luigi Mangione has become the poster boy for resistance against the corrupt American health insurance industry, an industry which is widely viewed as a leech that jumps at the chance to make more profit by denying coverage and claims, thus leaving thousands of Americans to die from treatable illnesses just because they can't afford the healthcare and the treatment that they need.
I've had somebody on the floor fainting, on the verge of dying, who was literally saying, begging, please don't call an ambulance because my family cannot afford it.
He's from an upper-class family, and he's really suffered a severe back injury that was said to have happened during a surfing accident, which put him in a lot of pain and essentially ruined his life. He had reportedly really suffered greatly to get his treatment covered for his chronic pain, and because of this, he developed a very deep resentment towards the health insurance industry. He had also written a manifesto where he really explained his complaints with the American healthcare system. I would read you some of it, but it's been censored, so I really can't find a PDF of the manifesto anywhere online without it getting taken down 5 seconds later. Luigi has received widespread support online, and it's even become somewhat of a trend for women to make thirsty fan edits of Luigi, such as this one.
Yo, that's corny, right? That is so corny.
These edits and just a whole wave of admiration and infatuation with Luigi Mangione has really taken over social media in the last few weeks. I have been an avid supporter of Luigi because I too hate the healthcare system and I believe that it needs to have some major reforms within it. But one thing that I really have noticed is that the primary focus on Luigi, it isn't even about his manifesto or his stand against the US healthcare industry, but it's on his fucking abs instead.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy.
That's right. Half of the time I see a post on Luigi, and it's just people talking about his appearance and how hot he is, and it's just essentially thirst TikToks, essentially. And it's got me wondering, what if Luigi was ugly? Because seeing the reaction I see on social media, I cannot help but wonder if Luigi Mangione would have received nearly the same amount of praise if he wasn't hot. And let's be so for real, the man definitely is hot. But imagine if Luigi Mangione committed the exact same murder in the exact same manner and wrote the exact same manifesto about the corruption of the healthcare industry, but he was a middle-aged, bald, fat man instead. Imagine if Luigi Mangione looked like a freaking Discord mod. Would he still be seen as such a hero and glorified in such a manner?
Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no! No! Oh, hell no!
Absolutely not. Or at least if there were some people that agreed with his message, it wouldn't be nearly as widespread as it has become on social media. Honestly, Luigi is pretty popular with everybody, but in particular, a lot of the people that are cheering this on, they're very progressive left-wing people. These are the exact same people that want Donald Trump dead, and they would love to see him dead in a heartbeat. But one thing I've noticed is they don't seem to be praising his attempted assassin, Thomas Crooks, in nearly the same way, even even though he too shot a person that is evil in their eyes. Whenever I bring this up, a lot of people just say it's because Trump's shooter missed and was therefore unsuccessful, and so he's not going to get the same amount of praise as somebody like Luigi. But I honestly don't believe that for a second. I think it was because he was ugly.
Goddamn, this nigga ugly as fuck. Bitch nigga face look like it got hit by a bus. You look like my asshole nigga, keep it a buck. Looked in my pants nigga, you look like my left nut. Ugly ass nigga looking like Lord Farquaad. Hot chin ass nigga looking like Quagmire. Soft ass face looking like you burned in a fire. Looking like your head got ran over by a tire.
And as I really began to think about this, I realized that Luigi perfectly fits into the mold of what is a quote-unquote good guy. He's a very tall, young man that grew up in an upper middle-class family. He was valedictorian of his private school, Ivy League, no criminal record, good-looking, etc. And thus, people are much more sympathetic to his message. And this honestly has me thinking, throughout history, in order for any social change to really be accepted by the masses, a lot of times it has to come in a very pretty package, and the face of that change needs to be an attractive, socially acceptable face. And so today, I will really be examining this pretty privilege, not only with Luigi, but with many other activists throughout history. And when I say pretty, I'm not just talking about a person's beauty, but also their lifestyle and their public image needs to fit what is socially acceptable at the time in order for their activism to really make a difference. For example, many people know of Rosa Parks as the first black person that refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus for a white lady, which also helped spark the American Civil Rights Movement. What if I told you that that was actually not the case? The person that originally refused to give up her seat was a young girl named Claudette Cloven.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
Back in 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks even did. However, Claudette was only 15 years old at the time, and she had a very much darker skin tone than Rosa Parks, who was a light-skinned black woman with a more dignified, quote-unquote, respectable appearance. Because of this, Rosa Parks was chosen to become the face of the Montgomery bus boycotts. Her image was easily marketable to a wider audience, including white Americans, because of the way she embodied the image of a respectable black woman. Cloven, on the other hand, was considered way too young and too quote-unquote imperfect due to her having a child out of wedlock. Also, she wasn't seen as visually acceptable to be used in the same way. Therefore, because Rosa was seen as a more socially admirable person and she was a closer fit to society's beauty standards at the time, she was the one that went down in history as one of the leading faces in the civil rights movement. This is despite the fact that both girls preached the exact same message, the exact same. Both of them wanted to end segregated buses in Montgomery, Alabama. Another example of this pretty privilege being very evident during the civil rights movement was the difference in the fame and the honor that Martin Luther King Jr. got as opposed to Malcolm X. This pretty privilege had much less to do with their physical appearance and more to do with their public image. Martin Luther King was seen as the primary leader of the civil rights movement, despite Malcolm X having just as big of a role in leading the movement at the time.
I'm the bad guy. Duh.
There are many reasons for this being the case, but one of the biggest reasons Martin Luther King went down in history as more famous is due to the public's perception of Malcolm X as being too violent and confrontational, as opposed to Martin Luther King's much more peaceful approach whenever he protested. A similar circumstance can be seen with Gandhi, who was widely regarded as the central figure in India's struggle for independence from British colonial rule, due to his very peaceful approach. Throughout the early 20th century, the women's suffrage movement, mostly in the UK, was really focused on women's physical appearance as a big part of the strategy to win support for the cause. Emmeline Pankhurst, and I probably butchered that name, but Emmeline was the leader of the suffragette movement, who often really depicted a way that emphasized her upper class respectability and to some extent her traditional beauty. Her appearance, mainly her poised and well-groomed looks, made her an ideal figurehead for the movement, and it really sought to present women as worthy of political and social rights. In contrast to this, most of the early activists in the women's suffrage movement were working class, and they weren't really as visually appealing or as polished as her. They weren't given the same recognition, even though they contributed significantly to the movement at the time. And finally, a modern day example of this pretty privilege happening right now is Greta Thunberg. I think that's how you say her last name, Greta Thunberg. In my opinion, the only reason she reached such a level of fame and influence, it wasn't because of her message, it's just because of who she was and just how young she was. I don't think many many people tuned in to see Greta Thunberg give a speech at the UN Climate Action Summit back in 2019 just because the message was so interesting. I think they tuned in because it was very rare to see a teenager giving a speech at the UN Climate Action Summit. If she had given the exact same speech as a 35-year-old man, mark my words, nobody would have paid attention. She was seen in the media as very youthful and a very just youthful, innocent girl, and it was seen as much more palatable compared to other young environmental activists who might not have fit the same wholesome look. I promise you, if the message was the exact same but it was said by a different person, nobody would have listened. All of this to say, human beings are incredibly shallow, surface level people, and beauty is often the deciding factor as to who is seen as the heroes in history.
Let me tell you something. Looks matter, okay? They always have and they always will. Don't let nobody convince you otherwise. Humans are very shallow. It's part of our nature, okay? We like to look at beautiful things and we like to look at things that are aesthetically pleasing. Your looks will always matter. It would be amazing if we lived in a world where people didn't judge you based off of what they see, but that's just not the reality. Beauty is currency. Invest in your appearance. Take care of yourself, because when you look good, not only are you going to feel good on the inside, but people just treat you better. You get your way when you look good. I'm sorry, I did not create this system, but I am aware of how it works.
And once again, I mean beauty as not just an appearance, but public image as well. Growing up, there's a very big emphasis in my childhood placed on who you are on the inside. And I would always hear people saying things like, it doesn't matter what's on the outside, it matters who you are on the inside. But as I go into adulthood, I'm starting to realize that that's just blatantly false.
Y'all want to talk about pretty privilege? I'm seeing a lot of pretty people talking about how pretty privilege isn't real and they don't fucking have it and blah, blah, blah. Shut up. No. You want to talk about pretty privilege? Talk to people who had a glow up. If they were ugly in some kind of way and now they're somewhat attractive or very attractive, whatever, they will tell you pretty privilege is fucking real.
As somebody that did have a glow up within the last 6 months, I will tell you the way I used to get treated before I knew how to do makeup as opposed to the way I get treated now going out with my hair done and a full face of makeup is absolutely insane. Whether it be the way certain dudes look at me, people smiling at me on the street when they used to never, people are more likely to hold open the door for me. I'm doing much better in the TikTok algorithm whenever I post videos with a full face of makeup on, and I've heard that prettier people are much more likely to get hired than ugly people despite having the same qualifications, or how my manga collection and my anime posters in my room were seen as stuff the weird kid would do beforehand, and now they're super quirky and interesting due to my appearance. In fact, there are even many studies that show that parents have more love for cuter babies as opposed to less cute ones. When I say cute, I mean those with chubbier cheeks, longer hair, bigger eyes, those that smile more often, etc. Studies show that parents may spend more time with or be more affectionate towards babies who meet conventional standards of cuteness, while uglier babies are much more likely to experience less attention from their mothers whenever they're crying or whenever they're in need of something. Pretty privilege also plays a big role in the justice system. There's a very well-documented phenomenon where attractive individuals often receive lighter sentences or more favorable treatment in court. Studies have shown that judges and juries may unconsciously give more leniency to people who are perceived as good-looking based on certain stereotypes about where beauty correlates to morality or social success. And there are good-looking criminals that have done really bad things, but they really have more sympathy in the court of public opinion because of their good looks. This even goes for criminals that are 1000% undeserving of sympathy, like Ted Bundy, Scott Peterson, and Nicholas Cruz. A lot of times they receive support from fangirls that are like infatuated with them despite their murders simply because they think they're handsome.
Turns around, I kind of get that feeling, oh no, you know, he's gonna get me next, you know.
But yet you're fascinated by him.
Very. Every night when I go to bed, I just, you know, I get very scared. I shut my door and lock him, you know.
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. You try to imagine yourself in his place and to see how he's feeling looking at the pillows with blood stains and everything.
So what is the point of me telling all of you this? I say all of this to urge you viewers out there. The next time a public figure like Luigi comes along and you're seeing all these fan edits of them everywhere, I want you to really take the time and ask yourself, do I love this person because of their message or because of who they are? You see, I love Luigi because of his message against the healthcare industry. I love him because he has done vital work in waking up this country to the pathetic excuse we have for healthcare healthcare. I love Luigi because he has shown the mainstream media what the American public really thinks about people like Brian Thompson. God rest his soul. I know he's looking up at us right now as we speak. I love Luigi because even if it's just for a single temporary moment, he has somehow managed to unite the right and the left wing and make people see the real issue. Poor versus rich. It's not right versus left. It's up versus down. I love Luigi because of what he says, not because of who he is. The six-pack abs is just the cherry on top for me, and I encourage all of you to think about these things in the same way.